Hi guys, it's Carissa, and today I wanted to do a video for you on my top 5 makeup mistakes. I don't want to focus too much on trends, and I'm also not going to focus at all on anything regarding my hair. I think it's a little too easy to pick on hair. I don't know. You have way more regrets with your hair than your makeup, I think. I have anyway. I have. I wanted to focus on makeup, and I wanted to focus more on things that I had decided to do for whatever my own reasons were, and not cover too much of the kind of stuff that was just popular at the time. But I will touch on a few things like that. And as always, I want you to know that these are things that I just found to not work so well for me. And if you feel differently, more power to you. But this is stuff that I would say, if I could go back in time and change, I probably would. Number 1, brows too thin. What a huge mistake this is. Now, I don't want to focus on things that are trends, but I was a victim of this right around the time that it seemed most celebrities were as well. If you look at pictures of certain celebrities or most female celebrities from late 90s to early 2000s, a lot of them were sporting very, very thin eyebrows. I even looked at like Courtney Cox and Jennifer Aniston and pictures of them just to see, and even back then their brows were thinner than they wear them today. Not only were my brows too thin, but they were too round. And I have learned over time, no matter how much I know about brow shaping, and no matter how good I think I am at keeping up on my own brows, no one is immune to overdoing it when it comes to their brows. One way that I have remedied that is by having this trusty stencil. This is an Anastasia stencil. This is the tiniest one they have. It's the Petite Arch. And when I was going through all of them when I first got them, I thought, oh, that one's a waste. But this one actually fits my eyebrow shape and size perfectly, and it keeps me from getting a little out of line. If I don't use something like this, I tend to let the inner corners of my eyebrows get way too big and come in too far, and sometimes I can get a little too thin up in the arch, and this keeps me in line. So this is something that I definitely wish that I had a long, long time ago to prevent all of those types of issues. I don't feel that my brows are so thick now that if I had worn them like this back then, they would have looked unappealing. So that's something that I look back on and cringe a little bit. Number 2, no crease or corner color whatsoever. For a good amount of time, I just did not put a color in my crease or corner. So I would pick one shade, and a lot of times it would be something that was too light for my entire eyelid, and I would just coat my entire eyelid in that color and be on with it. I think that one of the easiest ways to make yourself look older and more tired and just overall less appealing is to just put one light color on your eyelid and be done with it. Now, I was going for a minimal look back then, but I guess I never realized that there were colors that you could put in your crease to complement the look and really give your eyes depth and make your face look warmer and just overall healthier. And really, I could have used light colors like this all along and a nice fluffy brush and made for a beautiful transition and given myself a friggin' brow bone, for crying out loud. I also want to kind of add a little PS to number 2 and say that I spend way too long being scared of black eyeshadow. Yes, you get fallout with it a lot of the time, and yes, it can be hard to blend if you have something that's super chalky. However, there's a reason why it comes with almost every eyeshadow palette you get. I used to always get so mad because I was like, why did they waste a space on a black eyeshadow? Who even uses that? If I could go back and just sit next to myself at my old makeup table and say, hey you, see that black eyeshadow? We're gonna put that on today. I would have probably had a few times when it didn't go so well, but once you're past the learning curve, it's definitely well worth it. Number 3, what lower lid? I refused for at least 6 years, but probably longer, to put anything on my lower eyelid, because I do tend to have oilier eyelids and I do get some transfer, and most mascaras are not okay to put on my lower lids because I'll look like a raccoon 20 minutes later. I can't wear anything in my waterline because I have contact lenses and I'll just cry it out or it'll all like goop into the corners of my eyes, which is so unattractive. I basically thought it's not worth babysitting my lower lid, and frankly, the less that I put there, the less attention I draw to it. So I would only put makeup on my upper lids, eyeliner, mascara, everything. On occasion, if I had really done something kind of powdery with my eyes and maybe I had gotten some like light colored eyeshadow on my lower lids, I would have coated it with a clear mascara to make it not look so like white and dusty looking, but other than that, I didn't touch it. In recent years, I have grown to appreciate how nice it looks when you do put something on your lower lids. And it doesn't have to be something that you have to babysit all day. The mascara that works for me is this Maybelline Lash Discovery. Not only is it a great teeny little brush, so you don't have to really worry about maneuvering a big giant brush carefully in that area, it also stays and doesn't transfer on me. And I feel like if it doesn't transfer on me, it won't transfer on most people because my eyelids are oily. That's definitely not something I'm terribly embarrassed about, but I feel like I missed out on so much potential for certain looks and certain events, especially evening events or holidays or times when I wanted a more dramatic look. I completely missed out on adding that little bit of oomph. Number 4 is avoiding brushes. I don't know why I did that for so long. For some reason, even with as much enthusiasm as I had for makeup, I felt like makeup brushes were just an unnecessary thing that makeup companies tried to sell to you. I would most often just use the sponge tip applicators that came in my eyeshadows, which there's nothing wrong with, but I would also then blend it with my fingers. This is something that occurred every day at my makeup table for years. I would put a color on my lid and on my brow bone. Then I'd put a color on the crease, and then I would go like this. And always wonder why I couldn't achieve that beautiful blended gradient look that I would see on makeup looks in magazines or even just on other people day to day. And finally, I broke down and purchased some makeup brushes. Of course, I always had a few. But mostly they were face brushes, and the few eyeshadow brushes that I actually had, I believe I may still have some of them to this day. The few eyeshadow brushes that I did have, I wasn't using properly. Just for example, this is one of the first ones I ever purchased. I was probably 18 or 19. This is filthy. It's from the Body Shop. This is a brush that I would use just completely multi-purpose, even though it clearly has a very specific purpose. And that's kind of how I was. I had maybe 3 to 5 eyeshadow brushes, a few face brushes, and I tried for the most part to just apply my makeup with my fingers. I don't think there is anything wrong with using your hands to blend your makeup, you know, to put on your foundation and maybe even put on cream eyeshadows or things like that. But for the most part, it's going to look so much better if you invest in some brushes. And my favorite makeup brushes are not even expensive. You can pick them up at most drugstores. So I just think that I was trying to avoid extra expense when I didn't realize what a difference it would make for my makeup overall. Lastly, number 5 is cuticles and ridges. I am a nail polish enthusiast. Since I was in my early teens, I have worn nail polish pretty much at all times. And I was always the type that even if I got the slightest little chip, I would take it off and start it over. You know, it was kind of relaxing and enjoyable to me to repaint my nails. And yes, I had periods of time where I had acrylic nails, which is beautiful because I had very low maintenance on them as far as that was concerned. Whenever I would give myself an at-home manicure, I would try and cut corners. I was lucky if I filed the edges of my nails to make them look straighter. Most of the time I would just cut my nails down and just pray that they wouldn't break or split after that, and never really take the time to make my nail bed nice and prepare it for the polish. I just absolutely cringe at the thought of ridges on a nail that haven't been buffed out or cuticles that just got painted over, because I know I did it for so long. I realized I wasn't achieving a very clean look. My nails always looked kind of bumpy. I wanted so badly to have my nails look like they were done professionally, even though I did them myself, braless in the living room. So I figured out that what I would need to do is use a cuticle pusher, and even though the first few times I did it, it seemed excruciating and it was so painful and uncomfortable that after a while it wouldn't be. You know, if you do it regularly and if you do it well with the right tools, it doesn't hurt and it makes a huge difference the way your nails look. Not to mention taking a buffer, a little buffing block, what are those, 80 cents? And running that over your nails before you wash your hands and get ready for polish. Wow, what a huge difference those two little steps makes. Base coat, nail polish, top coat. I have beautiful nails for however long. Sometimes not very long. So those are my 5 makeup mistakes. Those are at least the ones that I feel were the biggest mistakes that I made starting out with makeup or even up until recently. But I will tell you that there are things that I'm sure other people have seen me do that they would think is worse. Like the red eyeliner in middle school. I would love to hear your biggest makeup mistakes. Please leave a comment below and let me know what some of the more regrettable things are that you did with your makeup, whether or not it was recently or ancient history. Even better, if you want to make a video and talk to us about it, I would love to hear that, and maybe I will feel like I'm in good company. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.